Hello and welcome to another video. In today's episode I would like to talk about something that's been on my mind recently, and that is what the hell is going on in my home directory. And on that note we will also take a look at the XDG base directory specifications. And so if you would like to see more Linux related videos, tutorials and my rants on Linux, then why don't you subscribe to this channel? And now that this is out of the way, let's take a look at my home directory. My home directory is very nice. I have some directories like documents, downloads, music, pictures. I have a directory for my sync folder with sync thing. I want to sync some things to other things like my tablet PC. Then I can put files in here. I have a bin directory for scripts and such. But once I turn on the dreaded show hidden files option, then my eyes start to hurt and my brain starts to melt for all these files and directories, especially these directories. So you can see here directories that contain, like for FreeSIF, the game, some server history, client specific stuff, and save files. And then Hedge Wars have also data and settings and saves and schemes and screenshots. So these are basically user-specific data and configuration files that these programs store. So if every user can have their own configs, their own save files for the games, for example, what the hell is even this? So there are a lot of directories here which are kind of confusing, but basically are based on like the name of the program but with a dot in the beginning, which is how you hide files in Linux. So let's just hide them so we can keep our illusion that our home directory is well organized. So actually these configuration files and user specific data files for applications, there is a way to organize them, and this is kind of a more than 9-year-old, almost, well, it's gonna be 10 years old in November, so it's still just 9-year-old specification for the XDG base directory specification, which contains, so these are the two lines that I think is kind of relevant for this point. So there should be a single base directory relative to which user-specific data files should be written, and there's a single base directory relative to which user-specific configuration files should be written. And so these environmental variables like XDG data home and XDG config home should contain the relative place where these configuration files and user-specific data files should be written. And so there are also some default locations named here as in your home directory under .config and in your home directory under .local.share. And the nice thing is that my favorite game, OpenXCOM, actually implements this. So the user folder here is defined as this is the first place where the software will look, and this, if this is not defined, then this is the second place it will take a look. This is of course the default that is defined here for user-specific data files, and of course the third option will be to take a look at this directly, this hidden directory in the home directory, which is kind of I would say maybe it's not a standard or like a it's not following a specification. It's kind of like kind of habit, I guess, in Linux. I think maybe on BSD this is kind of a standard that you put all user files on this just one directory, which is well, the configuration and user data in this directory, which is basically just named after the name of the program. And so why is that a bad idea? So a lot of people, if you ask them if they want to implement this base directory specification, they will just say that thanks but no thanks or something along these lines. But here I actually found a very good reason why to follow. So they say that this OpenBSD program and typically follow BSD standards. So I found here a very interesting argument, if I can find here again. So a lot of people are using version control for their config files, and which that means is they use like a Git, for example, to follow the changes that they make to configuration files, and the Git also allows you to share these files with others through GitLab or GitHub or whatever, your own servers, whatever version control you can use it. So if you change these config files, you can add like a reason why you changed it, and if it's not working, you can easily revert to previous versions. If you share it like in an online repository, like on GitHub or GitLab, other people can clone it and they can modify it to their own liking. And even if someone has a good idea that you might want to implement from them, they can just give you like a push notification or something. No, not push, what is it called? Like a pull request, that's what it's called. So they can kind of suggest you changes, and you can implement that through these kind of version control systems. And when you're doing that, you of course would like to keep your files that are the configuration files separate from the files that contain specific data, which can be, your personal information that you do not want to share. And there can be a reason when you only want to share your personal data between two of your machines, but the config files, you want them separate because, I don't know, you have different keyboards or different screens, so maybe different kind of keyboard shortcuts make sense on your laptop than on your desktop computer or whatever. So these reasons, there can be reasons that make it a valid request to have your configuration files separate from your basically your data files. And of course the other thing is that it makes, if you don't use this specification, you just use that kind of habitual or like the BSD style, just putting everything in like a dot, something like dot program name file, like Mozilla does here, is that this is how your home folder will look like. And so some people say that, oh, you should always hide your hidden files, so you shouldn't worry about that. But when we go back to like the whole file system, when we are talking about like the root file system, we don't just put all our stuff in the root directory. So like your configuration files are not just put in like / I don't know, pacman.conf. These are put in mostly the etc directory. But we have some kind of a rationale for a file system, and with directories which each has some kind of function. And so there are some Linux YouTubers who made videos on this like the Linux file system and try to demystify that. But if we are honest, then what the hell is opt, like add-on application software packages? What's the difference between that and, well, I don't know, like essential binaries or like a secondary hierarchy? What is the secondary hierarchy? So these are things that are very difficult to understand. So this is a very long specification actually. So I don't know. But the thing is that so this one has like the etc directory in your root, which is specifically there for like host specific system configuration things. And so all these different programs don't just pollute the root directory with their system config files. They have a place for that. So why couldn't we do the same thing for the user with this .local/share and .config directories? But of course it is also nice if we implement there. Why can't we implement using these environmental variables? So maybe someone wants a different name for the directory where these things are stored, then they can just simply use these environmental variables to specify where exactly they want to do that. And so I think, of course, because we are on Linux and we are using a lot of free software, we prefer free software. That means that what we can do is we can actually play a part in this, and you can, for example, go, okay, I want my home directory to be less cluttered, so I would like that Assault Cube does not have its own directory. It puts its configs into the .config/assault cube, and it puts its packages and like the maps in the where is this, the .local/share directory, like good programs like OpenXCom does. And of course OpenXCom has their its config files here too, which is, well, you could say that, well, it's just one options.cfg. Why cannot it just, put like the .openxcom.cfg into your home directory, and then it's just one file? But yeah, the thing is that if you have a lot of programs, these one files or one directories are going to clutter your home directory very much. So what you can do actually is, one of the things is, of course, you can go on DuckDuckGo and search for Assault Cube source, and then you can take a look at their GitHub repository, and you can either go to the issues page if you don't know anything about programming and just say them, oh yeah, I don't know, like maybe post a new issue, like well, you have to sign in, of course, but this can be like create this feature or fix this bug or I need help, which is weird here, but anyway, this is what you can do. But what I was thinking is that I don't just want to go to all these software's GitHub page and just shout at them so they can shout at me that no, I'm not gonna do that, because let's face it, this is probably a very boring task to change the place where your configuration files stored. And if you are really nice, like how they did it in the OpenXCom, then there's at least 3 places that you will have to look. You will have to check, does this environmental variable exist? If it's not, then does this directory exist where we can put these files? And we have to still check if this legacy option, the legacy directory, if this exists or not. And so this is kind of a tedious task, and you have to test if it works well. And so probably I can understand if a lot of maintainers of these packages would like to spend their time on more productive things, like implementing new features and like trying to get rid of bugs that are actually destroying their the efficiency of their programs or whatever. But yeah, I think it is a better idea if you have the know-how or if you want to get into it. So I think it is, for me, if once I will have finally some free time on my hands, which I do not have right now, what I would like to do is maybe not Assault Cube, which is like a big game, but just try some smaller code base project which does not follow the XDG base directory specification, and just clone the repository on my computer, try to compile it for me. Let's see if I can do that, because I haven't done things like that for a long time, and I want to get involved a little more in the open source free software community. So I am thinking about doing just that. Just find the project and try to figure out which are the code parts which are responsible for loading and saving configuration files, and just try to change that to the XDG specified places and just test it, and maybe, you know, once it works for me, I can just push my solution to their homepage or their repository and attach my little, or you know, like attach it with the with an issue like your software does not follow the specifications of the XDG and I would like it to follow because it clutters my home directory, and here is the solution. So I think that is kind of a good hobby project if you want to get into programming, you want to take a look how these kind of things work. I will definitely try that once I have the sufficient time on my hands, and I will talk about that that time. So this is the end of our video. We talked about what's going on in our home directory, and so give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this rant, and don't forget to subscribe, check out my playlist, and I will see you in the next video. And until then, bye bye.